In order, I'll note as always, there's a sign-in sheet in the back, corner in the back. You are not required to sign in if you're just attending to watch. If you wish to speak, you are required to sign in. So, everyone is here. Greetings to Matt Compton, who's filling in for Kat tonight, taking notes. Okay. Any board members or staff have any additions to the agenda? So we have one, let's see. Action items B, the employee handbook. We're gonna kick that to next month. We won't be acting on that tonight. If there are no other changes, I accept the motion to approve the agenda as slightly modified.
I might have an agenda addition.
Okay.
I would like to discuss with a new board coming in, the possibility of altering the course on some of the things that we are moving forward on at the moment.
Okay. Do you want to bring that up under comments from board members?
Sure.
Okay, so we don't need to change the agenda. All right. Do I have pure motion over here?
Yes, I'm moving to approve the slightly modified.
Director Rogers moves. Do I have a second?
Second.
Director Ryerson seconds. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so at this time, I will open a public hearing on our 2023, it says 34 on here, it's actually say 24 budget. We don't do 11-year budgets. And is there anyone here that wishes to speak on the budget?
I would.
Mr. Fields. Chris, do we have a clock?
Yep.
Okay, so you get 3 minutes.
Okay, so my name is Jason Fields. I've been newly elected. I'm not sworn in yet, but I would ask the board to please consider not voting to move ahead on Crystal Riley Park. I would ask any projects that there's any litigation on, that you don't move forward on any of those projects, because most likely they're gonna be overturned, okay? Or any project that has a bridge. So, I would ask you, please respectively, don't move forward on them, because we are absolutely gonna be overturning those projects. I believe, okay? So please consider that. We don't wanna waste the taxpayers' money, especially on litigations. So if you would please consider that, I would truly appreciate it, and I promise the taxpayer will as well. So, $30,000 just to fight something that we know is not gonna pass anyways is a waste of taxpayers' money. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Paulson.
So you didn't want public comment, you cut it in half, so it's moving quick. Do I get a new clock?
No, you know what's left to Jason.
Steve Paulson. It's also speaking specifically about the budget. It's more specifically, there's about the golf course, a line item from,
Joyce Barnwell.
$5. $10.
there's a line item under the golf course budget that's up for approval. That got slipped in there to the tune of $300,000 for a permanent outdoor restroom. And being a regular at the golf course and being on the golf course committee, I can tell you that on January 24th, as a committee, we decided as a group, a majority anyhow, that we wanted to remove the notion to build an outdoor bathroom at that time, because we felt that the money could be better used elsewhere. For example, if you go to the golf course right now, there's parts of the golf course that look like a drought and well into August, and we're into May. And when I asked why does it look like this in certain parts, I was told that the satellite sprinklers and the system that controls those were broken and it's outdated. So I said, well, how much would it cost to fix it? And I was told roughly $60,000. So the last thing we need after 17 years of operation is a $300,000 outdoor men's and women's permanent restroom at Hole 6 with a snack shack hooked onto it, when we already have a triple wide that's dilapidated, and we have a golf course that we cannot maintain properly, we cannot irrigate properly as it stands. That's just a matter of fact that I was told. So I asked that the $300,000 be removed, reallocated to things that are in need. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Wiley?
Hunter Wiley, just a question on clarification. There appears to be a $4 million capital expenditure in the budget, and the budget's being evaluated, but it's not really broken out, and I'd like to see it be broken out, to what that was intended for.
Don? What are we talking about?
Yeah, it's broken out in the budget. We went through it. It's under the repair and replacement as well as the other sections. It's all broken out in the budget.
If you could highlight, give me the pages and so forth that's on there. I've got a copy of the budget here, and so I understand what you're talking about.
I'm sure you can do that after reading. Anybody else speak on the budget? The hearing will be open throughout the meeting. We'll come back to it at the end.
Is this the only time for public participation, or is I'm just trying to read the budget?
So, the public hearing is open throughout the course of the meeting.
Okay.
So I will not close the public hearing, but we will go through the regular agenda, and then when we get done with that, we will go back to the public hearing
Okay.
and ask for questions then. So, you get a second chance.
I'm free to speak now then,
Yes.
split. And I'd rather not talk to the back of heads. Pardon me. So, my name is Brooke Walls, I'm a resident here. Maybe 13, 14 years, helped raise my kids here in this community, big asset, I really appreciate what you guys do. The family's been big time volunteers as well. I've been very active in the disc golf community for about 10 years. Started at Shampooey State Park, a park that I would consider very similar right now to Ewing Young. So it's lacks development, it only has 12 holes, it's not a destination course, locals use it, that kind of thing. I enjoy it, but what we did at Shampooey really took that course from a place that only the locals played, that was somewhat dangerous, somewhat limited, to a place that people come from all over to play. We hold programs out there. We've probably spent about $25,000 of raised funds all on our own at the park we built it to 22 holes. We've more than doubled the size of the disc golf course original operation, and people come from far and wide to play at Shampooey as well as the locals. Our club itself, on Facebook, we have about 1.3K members. Started out with my wife, my kids, I made them all be members so that we could look like we had a little bit of traction. We touch about 2,000 rounds of disc golf a year through our programming. There's leagues happening tonight, I couldn't play, chose to be here, talk to you guys. Multiple tournaments, and we're basically, our job there is to develop the course, maintain the course, and provide programming for all the benefits that disc golf brings. I try to get some demographic info. In fact, I saw you guys last meeting where there was some hot debate over golf data and usage and whatnot. So anyway, the course over there, in my estimation, gets about 5x the amount of play that Ewing Young gets based on the amount of comments that are left and based on the amount of the rated rounds that people put into the most popular disc golf app. When we started 10 years ago, that I figure those two properties were about on par with each other.
Okay, I'm gonna interrupt you. Richard, freeze the clock for a second.
Yep.
So we do have like a 3-minute time limit?
I'm looking at it.
I think- Okay, I just wanted,
So-
and we have some flexibility, but I
Okay.
just wanted to. to
So last week,
sort
there
of
was a
get
lot
to
of
the point.
bridge to nowhere talk. The disc golf, the elements of disc golf for this community are big time. People come and they spend money at gas stations, Fred Meyer, XYZ, hotel rooms. They do that in our tournaments and our leagues and whatnot. The amount of people, the friendship, fellowship, exercise, especially during COVID, was one of the few things that people could do in our community. So anyway, I just want you guys to be aware that there's a huge disc golf community that's only growing. The demographics are about as strong as pickleball, and I know that's a big deal here. And we don't make the annoying noise. It's crazy. It's a little bit different. So anyway, just wanted the board to be aware that we have a very active disc golf community. The work we do has been free, just about free to the state parks. We wanted to invest more in our parks. We've been here in previous years, and through red tape and different items, you know, we chose to spend our money and our time and our fundraising with the state. But anyway, the additional 11 acres there would be a heck of an asset, and I think you guys would get a lot of the same benefit that Champoeg is. So anyway, thank you.
Right. Thanks, sir. Yes.
I had a comment. My name's Alan Holstein, excuse me. I'm a retired wine grower and a 40-year resident of the district. I own 3 properties in the district, and I'm on the CPRD board, trail, not the board, you're on the board. I listened to last month's board meeting after the fact, and I was a little bit shocked that maybe there was something lost in translation watching it remotely, but in the hostility that I sensed was in the room, and I just wanted to show up and say, I think you're doing a great job, and thank you for your service. I go to the pool almost every day. I see other people in the pool enjoying it every day. I use the trails regularly. I go by ball fields and I see kids out playing baseball, and all that's supported by CPRD, and I appreciate it a whole lot. So I'd like to thank the board member, past, present, maybe not the future, for your service. Given my experience in the district, I wonder about the opposition that you run into. I've heard about assessments being an issue, and so I went home and I looked up on my property tax assessment. So for a property for $600,000, it costs $350 to go to CPRD, and I thought, what a value! And I've heard some noise about system development charges being an issue, but in fact, there's more people moving to Newburgh than are leaving it, so proves the point, doesn't it? So I think there's a vocal minority in the room, and Ms. Pizzo, with all respect, I saw you reach out to the group in the room and say, well, is anyone here for a trail? But I don't think that's your job. I think it's your job to listen
She
to the
said for a
community.
bridge.
What's that?
She said for a bridge.
For a bridge?
Yeah, she
Okay.
specifically stated a
Okay.
bridge. Sorry.
You're excused. I think it is more about the people in the room than the people in the community. I have owned an AF-10 property, and I have no problem with bridges or trails. Thank you very much.
Anybody else wish to speak on the budget at this time? Again, you'll have a chance at the end of the meeting if you decide to do that. Okay, I'm not seeing anyone. We will move forward with the rest of the agenda. We have the consent agenda, unless someone wishes to pull something off the consent agenda. Bart?
Just correction to the minutes that showed I was absent. I had a work emergency and been late, but I was here for part of the meeting.
Fine, be that way. All right, since Bart was here. With that change, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Make a motion to approve.
Director McMaster
Second?
moves, Director Ryerson seconds. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, public participation. No one has signed up ahead of time. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak to the board tonight? Ryan?
Cool. Just got a couple minutes, so I'll keep it quick. Ryan Surfa, BMX track, Mayo Valley BMX. So just a quick update. Last year we had a bit of a transition. So we had a lot of paperwork and stuff filed this winter. Tons of work. It's gone pretty well thus far. We've had 2 beginner lead sessions this spring. 56 new members so far. We're more than double the next best track in the state. Number 18 nationally right now, out of 300 tracks. So we have the grants. We got into grant writing this winter, applied to 7 grants. We've got 3 of them. 2 are still outstanding. We've got about $5,000 in corporate sponsorship, so we've raised about 25 grand thus far. We have a couple of big grants left to go. Doing a lot of work on the track. We had an excavator out there yesterday. And sunburn right now is out of the track all day, moving dirt. Built a new feature in the back, cleaned up some of the corners. We plan to pave corners, the remaining 3 corners in July. And then glue the track in August, so it should be year round at that point. So we have overall track rank. We're 2nd in the state right now. We will probably overcome the 1st place track in about 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Just because the new members, we've never finished better than 4th. We're right now 50th in the country for track rank, and we've never finished in the top 100. So things are going pretty well. If there's anything else I was going to bring up? Construction, I mentioned that. July. Oh, the eco blocks. We moved a couple eco blocks 3 or 4 weeks ago. Just ones that we already had on site. We're going to need a bunch more. So if the district has any laying around, we would very much appreciate them. The retaining wall that runs along the finish straight that kind of separates the BMX track from the skate park is railroad ties, and it's kind of rotting and falling over, so that's going to need to be replaced probably a year from now. We can do that if we were provided the blocks. We can just place them in there, it's not a big problem. So that's about it.
Okay.
Real quick comment.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you folks that volunteer to make our community better. It was awesome to see you out there yesterday, and there were a couple other fellows out there with rakes in the hot sun raking that. And I apologize, 20 years ago I built that wall. And yeah,
It's lasted 20 years.
with volunteers, and yeah, it is starting to do its thing, so.
So you're volunteering to go fix it?
Absolutely. Not as strong as I used to be. But anyway. Thanks, guys, I appreciate it.
We have machines that will do that now.
Yeah, I know.
Director Rogers?
Yeah, congratulations. I mean, that's super awesome. You had some adversity and you guys just came together and got a lot done, and look at where you are now. That's great, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Great, that worked out for you guys. Riley?
2 topics, one of which is looking at the topic that another gentleman reduced here, was the taxes that are collected in behalf of the district for both SDC and off of the real estate taxes. And one of the things that alerted me to this was a comment that Don made to me several years ago about having a free cost of capital for the Parks District, which sounds like free money. So what I did is I went to the Treasury Department, and this is online. If you should have this file there. It was given to Kat to give to you. I don't know if you do or not.
I don't have a file.
I happen to have it on flash drive. The one you want to look at is, it'll be under CPRD directory. Comes up. A little background on this. All this data was obtained from the Oregon State Treasury Department. It basically shows, and I requested that they give me access to all of the Parks and Recreation District data for 5 years, and then pick out of that 5 representative districts, and just look at the cash balances every quarter for the last 5 years. And then do a comparison of not the amount of money, but the ratios that are maintained by each district to give themselves operating capital out of their revenues and so forth, because it takes cash to run a business. and what excess was there, and how fast any excesses were accumulating. And you see the spreadsheet? That's it, okay? Without getting in, and I'll leave this here if anybody wants to look at it. But one of the things that stood out here was how fast, I mean, the tax rates are going down somewhat, but the accumulation of millions of dollars a year into the general fund, basically the checking accounts you hold at the state, was growing quite rapidly. Now, those top line of numbers, those are the quarterly balances by year. The orange line below it is an average of the year, so that you get rid of all the peaks and valleys as far as your expenditures are concerned. And then you can see on the left where you started, just for the sake of it, that's bend up on top. And the only real thing I wanted to show there was the amount of money that they're holding in reserve as a percentage. Not that the amount itself is interesting, but how closely they stick to that as far as the operating capital they have to have. And Chehalis Parks is the next one down, and that's showing the average amount of money that was kept at the state. The next one over, if we scroll to the right, down to the right.
How far?
That's probably good enough right now. All right. If you look at the orange yellowish line, those are capital reserves kept by Bend across the top, and it's actually a percentage, which is shown below that, a thing called coverage, which simply means this: how much money are you keeping in reserve to keep yourself current? Okay, that's all it is. You guys all have checking accounts. Start of the year you have X, the end of the year you have Y. If Y is greater, you've got income. Otherwise, you'll have a loss. Okay.
That's why I need you to.
Pick it up? Okay.
I'm sure your time is probably up, so if you.
Could you put that back up, please? The district has accumulated, in essence, $10,696,000 as of December as balance, average balance that's maintained at the state. That's 100 and some odd % above what its actual cash requirements are. That's a lot of money. And that also includes SDC charges, which kind of get moved around and paid debt with and so forth. This is pretty excessive, and you say you're glad to pay taxes. You're paying a lot of taxes.
Don't mind.
If you don't mind, fine, but I mean, it's far greater than their
Okay,
need.
so we're not gonna
And
have a debate
basically,
here
it's-
between.
they're creating a bank or a slush fund.
Okay,
That's what it amounts to.
okay. So you had two issues, do you
The
very
second one is,
quickly wanna tell us the second
okay, the
issue?
second one is the golf course. And
Wait. Is that, are you,
I'm going to allow Mr.
okay.
Wiley a minute or so here
if
to.
you would pull up that one slide, it's on Chehalis Valley Golf Course.
Give me 1 second.
It's,
Which slide is that?
okay, and it's saying,
I have an image, I don't have any
So,
PowerPoint.
No,
what's-
not the
so we're going over 5 minutes? Or 3 minutes?
So which file?
see, you have one called Chehalis Glen Forecast, where, no, Chehalis Glen Revenue Forecast.
Which one? Okay,
Down. No.
first one or second one?
First.
Come to the golf course.
Not that one. No, you go down to the one below, the second tab. Right there. Okay, scroll up some. Basically what this says is that the
I'm
golf,
gonna give you 1 minute here.
the golf course has been losing money every year at about a 3% rate for the last 11, 12
Okay,
years.
that's true.
And that's based on your own numbers. I'm not making this stuff up. It comes off that report that I was always complaining about that shows your revenues. That's your revenues. It's losing money. And the other reason it's losing money is you never account for the debt retirement. You only account for income and whatever the immediate expenses are. But the department runs on an income basis, not this EBITDA, which is you're running this on. So the thing is losing money. And looking at, if you go back to the graph, a steady decline. That little burst you had during COVID, we've done an analysis on that, and for every one customer you get, you lose 2.4 customers. So this,
Okay, you talked about, your time's up, Mr. White, thank you for your input. Anybody else?
I have one question.
Yes, Mr. Paulson.
Steve Paulson, and I approve this message. Just kidding. According to the calendar at the district's website, there is no board meeting scheduled for July. July and November, I believe, are the 2 months.
Typically, we don't have one in July because it conflicts with Old Fashioned Festival.
That's what I said, yeah.
Depends on if there are critical things. We have frequently had July meetings after all, but we typically don't schedule it.
So my question is, if that's the
November
case,
is, fourth Thursday of November is traditionally known as Thanksgiving. And so generally, we have a meeting the first part of December that kind of takes up for the tour.
so my question is this, with that being the case, because that's what I read on the website, at what point will the new candidates be sworn in and taken into the board if there's no meeting in July? If they take over July 1 per my vote in voters pamphlet, when do they actually officially be on the board if there's no meeting in July? Can anyone tell me when that's on the books?
I think we can talk about having a July meeting. I think we don't have to do it right now because we've got another month. We can look into that. I see where you're coming from.
Okay, just curious when it's supposed to happen.
It's not like we are not gonna have one. If we decide that we need to have one, then we'll have a meeting.
Since it's an election cycle, we can have one to simply swear the folks in if we need to.
Okay, thank you.
We're not election deniers here. Anybody else? All right. Oh, action items. Cultural Center Development, the theater. Casey, is this you?
Yeah. I don't even know where you're looking at. Oh, yeah. There is Sean would like to, according to our contract with the Cultural
Just to
Center.
be clear for everybody,
Committee.
Sean is the
Director of the Cultural Center and nonprofit that is in charge of running the facility for us. He needs our board approval for the project that's being proposed and is in development at this point. And that was in the board packet. I think it's they raised over $6 million for the upgrades to the theater and upstairs area. And they need something in writing from the board.
So I'm gonna look at this if that's helpful. I should probably do this as well.
I'm sorry?
So what it is the Cultural Center has raised over $6 million in private funds to build out the theater. And because it is, they have to get approval from CPRD in order to enter into a contract. So that's what they're asking for.
I have a comment.
Jim?
I just think it's amazing, just like the folks who do the track and go out and raise their own money to get things done for the public. I mean, for a group of people to go out and raise $6 million to finish a building without the taxpayers footing into that bill, to me, says so much for the people that live here that do that. And so $6 million is amazing. I was involved in developing that cultural center from the get-go when I was working for the Park District. And, we got a grant from HUD and we got money here and there and we used some STCs and so on, but we had not enough money. And I don't even know if we will ever have enough money for the district to finish that themselves. So for them to come through and say, we really want to offer this to our community, we really want to do that, all these donors that want to give to Newburgh, it's just, to me, it's amazing. So I'd like to go ahead and, how do we want to phrase this? Or we just approve it?
It's an action item.
Is there a resolution or are we just approving concept?
You're approving a letter that was in the board packet.
49.
49.
Okay. I must miss that one. Richard, cue up the Jeopardy music for a second.
Well, I can just say, I'll make a motion to approve these alterations that they've stated in this letter. I think it's $6,115,464,
Which they're paying for.
which they're paying for.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, and there's no bridge or trail. Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed, motion carries. Thank you to the cultural center people. Okay, so we're skipping B, C. Approval of policy and guidelines for public comments. So, Jim, you wanna talk about this a little bit?
Yeah, I just like to get a little more organized in these meetings. I think it's important that people speak what they want to speak, but sometimes it goes a little too long. So I did some homework. I'm sorry, I can't get to it right now. I did some homework with the city, and I submitted something to Don from the county and said, let's come up with a registration card and so on, so we can be a little more organized in these meetings. So that's kind of what we did. I don't know if anybody has any comments on that?
Yeah, actually, I'm trying to get to it though.
Is it something that you can share, sorry, this is Dana Kim, can you share it on the screen so that we can see what you guys are looking at?
I don't have that content.
So basically, it's the same thing that the city uses, the county uses, to just try to stay organized through things. So, like, I pull a card out and say, Matt's the first one up, okay, Matt, speak your piece, you got 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever, and then we just go from there, and it's a little more organized than just hands going up and people saying different things. So that's what we're looking at. So it's not a big policy deal, it's more of just a housekeeping deal.
So I think what it is if you wish to speak at a meeting, you fill out a card, whoever happens to be chairing the meeting has those cards with him or her, and then they just flip through the cards.
So not something that you submit ahead of time, it's something you fill out when you come in that night?
Kind of like our sign-up sheet.
Either way, you can do it ahead of
Actually,
time or at the.
well, actually, the proposal though says, complete the attached form and submit to the Public Information Office at least a week prior to the meeting.
That won't
Any
fly.
any written materials which are intended for the board's review should be submitted to the Public Information Office at the time of the request, including supplemental notes from the visual presentation such as PowerPoints.
No, I agree, I don't
That will fly.
think, yeah, I agree. I mean, I would.
When they come here.
I wouldn't
think
say,
that's fair.
hey, last week you didn't turn your thing in, I'm not into
Yeah.
that, so.
But before the
I get
meeting
that.
starts, at least. You know,
Well, and it's possible that somebody could arrive late, hand a card in, and the chair would simply say,
The chair has
great,
the, yeah,
thank you.
They had a-
in here it gives the chair.
I would say if it is
Yeah, the board
something
president.
visual being presented, it needs to, be submitted to public information, because I don't have the time to process it and do all the checks that have to be done beforehand. And it just cuts into the person's
I
time.
think it'll be a case-by-case basis, probably.
So what the city does, right, is when people walk in, they fill out a form and they give it to the county clerk. And then she looks through to make sure it's filled out, all right, and she hands it over to the mayor, and then he will call people based on whatever they have as their structure.
Because you know what they do as far as if somebody, like Mr. Wiley did have a thumb drive or something they wanted to
They would
use.
not have, that would have needed to be a presentation. It's public comment, it isn't a presentation, so.
I will tell you for sure that I have been at these presentations, and they do just give that information so that it is available.
But if it's not, usually not in public comment, that's when it's a presentation, they hand it over to them, or they give it to them ahead of time.
In the beginning?
And then it's, no, they'll have sent it in, if it's a presentation, you typically are coming in, you've already spoken to somebody, because you're making a presentation, so it needs to get on the agenda, because the agenda is set more than a week before. And so in order to be able to have the agenda and us read out the board packet, you have to be able to, you know,
If it's
to have
part
some
of the
time.
presentation, it has to be
It's a
public
presentation,
notice, so
yes,
it needs to be.
notice that everybody else can get to see
If you're
it.
coming just to speak without a thumb drive or something like that,
So tonight, for example, we didn't have anybody sign up for public participation at a time. Typically, we'll have a name or something here. And
I
so,
signed in first time today.
no, I appreciate it. What I'm saying is that, you know, when somebody has something that they want to show us, typically they'll let us know ahead of time.
Right.
And, you know, so my name is John Smith, and I want to talk about this, and I've got this. And so that it, you know, it goes on public participation, and then we have a name or two, and then we have others not on the agenda. And then that's when we kind of, you know, ask for anybody else, kind of thing, so.
and if it's something we want to hear about, we have the latitude as a board to say, look, we can extend that 3 minutes ahead of time, but
It's left to the, you know, other than what the typical process is, it's left to the discretion of the board chair.
One thing you might add is if they're gonna submit something, to have a presentation, what format you want it in, so.
Well, that's why you would do it a week ahead of time, because you could have those
I know, just
conversations
if-
and then everybody has it
If you're gonna
together.
document this, just say you want a PowerPoint or something similar to that, go from there.
So,
I think that we need to look at this again and bring it back next time. I don't have a problem doing that, because I'm not sure this is what the county, what I turned into CAP was, specifically about turning something in a week and a half. I think that needs to be clearer. So instead of us hashing it out here, let's look at it again, give it back to staff.
okay, we'll table this till next month. Reports and comments from board members. Gail, I'm just gonna start with you, because I know you had something you want to say.
I think Jason said it. I'm good.
Okay. You have anything else? Director McMaster.
I'm sorry, I always have something. The Wednesday, yesterday, the Rotary Club went down to Ewing Young Park, and we did a volunteer project. That's when I saw you doing it. Pulling ivy. So I just wanted to thank the Rotary Club for doing that. That was just so much fun with all that dust and the cottonwoods just flying through the air. They had a tremendous time. So far, no reports of poison oak. So anyway, that was a volunteer thing we did at the park to try to save those trees.
Okay. Other end, Director Ryerson.
pass.
Director Rogers.
I would have talked about the cultural center, but it's already on here, so I'm good.
Okay. All right. Casey, updates on projects and questions. Do you have any updates on questions?
I don't have any updates on questions.
Okay.
We received an award from the Land and Water Conservation for the Sanders State Park, as you're aware, in the amount of $630,000, with another $175,000 donated or given to us by the state LGGP fund for the development of the Sanders project. That project, according to documents that we have, total build-up would be around $10 million for the park. And it's in phases, and it's a start. We'll be working on that this summer and next year, and probably for years after that. But some more funding that we're not having to really pay for. Bob and Crystal Riley Park Master Plan, the board approved me to sign a contract with ND5 for the master plan. The plan is to have a public meeting at the Cultural Center on June 21st, where anyone who has any interest in that project can come in and make public comment. That's what it's there for, to provide some direction as to, and we already have a lot of that, but to provide direction as to where we want to move that property and make it safe for everyone to use. And everyone should have the right to comment on that.
What time was that, Casey?
6 o'clock.
At the Culture Center on June 21st?
Yeah, and it might go till 10, but if we have a reserve time in the ballroom down there. So whoever shows up, but I think there's plenty of room for discussion stand.
And how are you marketing that?
Kat's gonna do that when she gets back. Also, we have, MV5 is gonna help do some of that, so.
So it'll be up on our website.
It will be up on our website. We were just trying to confirm it, and Kat's went on vacation, so we'll get it posted as soon as we can.
Then maybe in the paper, local paper.
Yep.
A quick question, how much of the work that's already been done by Mr. Cullen, I believe his name is, the fellow that did that nice spreadsheet and design and so forth, will be part of the, or is that the basis of the master plan?
The environmental site survey?
I don't know what you would call it, that huge, all the mapping work and so forth that was done? And have the layouts of the trails and so forth?
That's Quentin,
Quentin's-
he's a volunteer, and
No, I just said, is that gonna be the basis of what you're doing?
that's gonna be included in it.
Okay.
It's, a part, you know, the whole project's 320 or 40 acres, and, it's a big piece of property, and there's a lot of users up there. A lot more users than we used to. So we want to be able to accommodate as many people as we can, including people with disabilities, so that's all going to be included. The Newburgh Dundee Bypass Trail.
Hang on, Casey.
Is it a good question to ask about trails and cleanup? Since we're on the Riley Park, is it a good time to ask a question about that?
Sure.
Okay. I think we do have a trail cleanup PC, I can't see it, but,
June 3rd, I think.
okay, and so some of our members on the equestrian Facebook page had questions about, what trails we're doing, you know, that, et cetera.
Talk to Brian and Quentin, because
And so I
they're,
think that was unclear what was gonna be actually done, and
There was nothing on this site, so.
we just wanna get that word out, help get the word out, so we just wanted a breakdown of where, when, what.
yeah.
So will somebody be getting back to them, or is there someone they can call, or?
Sure, I could absolutely do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I would like to retouch base with, anyway, in regards to, because we got rained out on our equestrian volunteer day we were gonna do, and Russ and I were just talking about that, we could revisit that anytime, and that would be wonderful with this time of year. But we could discuss that also too.
Well, I think we can piggyback on your trail day, but we just don't know the details.
Absolutely, you know,
Instead of
and-
everyone asking us, and so I think we wanna make the most of
Sure.
that day. And we both have like side-by-sides that Russ approved us to use on our equestrian
Right.
cleanup that day. Is that
Yeah.
still appropriate? I mean, anyway, all those details.
Absolutely,
Okay.
we could talk about all that stuff.
Or just
Thanks for wanting to be a part of it.
So at the board's approval, we did sign an agreement with Emery and Sons for the Newburgh Dundee Bypass Trail, construction manager, general contractor. And that was done on the 23rd, so a couple days ago, for going ahead with the bypass trail from Industrial to up to 11th Street, so. We're working with the school district and AKS on a project at Rennie Field, along with the school district. They received some money and were generous to offer it to us to help improve Rennie Field. And this has been ongoing for a while. We're currently working with AKS to provide a document to the school district so that they can approve it for our board and the Newburgh School District Board to provide a facility for the next 50 years. That's what the contract says, so that should be coming up shortly.
Are we gonna put fence, gate, something like that around the field once the turf field goes in? Cause I'm not trying to be gross. My daughter lives down in Charles Court, so I drive over to her house frequently, and like every time I drive by the current field, there's always somebody with a dog out in the middle of the field and the dog is pooping. Which is not a huge deal on a grass field, but we don't want dogs pooping on the turf field once it goes in.
So there, yeah, there'll probably be gates or, you know, for the most part, it's gonna be open in the recreation department. I'll probably be using it pretty heavily. That was the reason for putting in the turf field. It's year round, it's.
I understand all that, I'm just saying
There currently is a fence there, it can be gated, can be closed.
just bringing that up.
Turnstile might be a good idea.
Well, I mean, the space is, I mean, it's a big open space, and there's about 14 different ways to get onto it, so there's no way you can control that at this point. I mean, I don't know what it's gonna look like after the school is up there, but there's no way.
One of the things that's gonna change though is because of what the school district and the park district are doing, is they're going to make a lot nicer complex. But there's gonna be a lot more people around using that complex on that side of town. So I think that, Don, we may have less of that problem, because anywhere where you have more people, usually people are being more respectful. So I think that will probably help.
We can hope. Sorry, Casey, go ahead.
And then I think that's kind of about it for those projects.
Okay,
They said they were gonna do that next week.
any questions for Casey?
Yes.
Barb?
Can you give us an update on the culvert near Crabtree, Knudsen, and the Gun Club?
It's in the county's hands, and I don't exactly know where that's sitting right now.
Anything else? Okay. Pickleball committee. Anybody here from the pickleball committee to give an update on pickleball? Mr. Wiley?
Yes, there was a tournament held on Jaquet, 3-day tournament, netted revenues to the district of $1,800. We sponsor the tournaments. The club and the committee don't actually have any relationship with the guy that runs the tournaments, but we promote them for him, and we also man the tournaments for him. So, district made $1,800. So far, you've made $7,200 off tournaments. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Are we allowed to ask a question of the public to ask a question of the committee?
Sure. Why not?
So with the pickleball, I've got friends that have kids that are playing pickleball fields over there, and I've been told as recently that the bathrooms there are in dire need of updating, cleaning. Can you speak to that since you've been having pickleball? Or is it strictly a porta potty? Because there's, I know for a fact there's
It's that they have, the restrooms generally are pretty well kept up. When there were people that were living on the park in the shelter over there, that was a problem. But Brian took care of all that, and his crew does a pretty good job keeping the place clean.
Okay,
I
thank
mean,
you.
does it get dirty occasionally? People stuff stuff overfilling grass, trash cans, yeah, that's true of any park.
Okay,
So,
thank
it's
you.
fine.
Okay. Trails, is Quentin with us? I just saw Quentin in person for the first time at the Capitol about 2 weeks ago.
He's here.
This is young man.
22.
He's so impressive.
Yeah, super intelligent.
Quentin, are you there? There he is.
Yes, I did see you at the Capitol.
Yeah,
Yeah. Am I good to go?
you're good to go.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah. And I just want to, again, say my appreciation for you allowing me to join via Zoom. As you can tell by all the garb from today's festivities at OSU Cascades, I'm graduating this spring. And happy to be the chair of the Chehalem Heritage Trails Advisory Committee at CPRD. Just some quick updates, and then I really want to spend a good chunk of my report talking about the things that lie ahead and the opportunities that I see for our committee and all of CPRD and our citizens. As you know, we are having our National Trails Day work party at Bob and Crystal Riley Park as a committee, open to the public here on June 3rd. That's this Saturday here coming up, not this Saturday, but the Saturday after. So far, we have roughly about 50 folks signed up, and I'm in contact with CPRD staff. And Brian, I've got your email on my list to do this week. It's been a little busy week, but definitely wanting to respond to you. And I know there's some discussion from some folks with the equestrian group, and we welcome any and all guests to come and, whether you're a seasoned trails maintenance expert or just a citizen that wants to get involved and volunteer, please visit the CPRD website. It's also been in newsletters, and there's flyers, I believe, posted. There might be some flyers printed there in the office with the QR code. Sign up online and join us. There'll be a great opportunity for folks to give back and help prep the trails even more. I know that they're open now, but prep them for a great summer season of hiking, cycling, and horseback riding. So that's again Saturday, June 3rd, up at Bob and Crystal Riley Park. Our committee is, I looked at the minutes or the packet for this evening's meeting. There was the incorrect meeting minutes in there, but last month here in May, I guess earlier this month, our committee meeting was really focused around community engagement and how to continue moving forward, opening up dialogue with our community and developing trails that everyone can enjoy and everyone can support. And then also looking at opportunities to bring in guest speakers, whether they be experts in the field of trail development, safety, maintenance, or also, opportunity for community groups, potential partners, landowners, and other agencies to come in and discuss with us the opportunities and lessons learned that can help us in our pursuit of developing a wonderful trail network. I do want to mention the path forward because I think we are at a great juncture in our community. For the last few years, folks have become more politically active or perhaps more vocal about it. And I think that's an opportunity more than it is something that we should be scared about. And I think it's an opportunity for both sides of the ideological aisle to come together and bring forth concerns, bring forth support of ideas and projects, and let's get together and work through them and find the best medium that's in between those ideologies. And I think that really is a great opportunity.
Ducks and beavers, right?
Yeah. Go Beavs, by the way. But I think, really it presents our committee especially with a great opportunity to open community dialogue, and our committee is committed to that. Right now, I happen, thankfully, to be taking a social science survey class, and I've been in close contact with researchers here at Oregon State University Cascades, and one of my professors has done the SCORP, SCORP survey, which is I think it's like every 5 years, the statewide recreation survey that is required for the Oregon State Parks and the Land and Water Conservation Act. I've also been working with researchers around the American Lab for Conversation, which deals with creating solutions for divisiveness and having good dialogue within communities around the values and how those values influence decision-making and cooperation amongst different ideologies. And then also working with researchers in our new Oregon State University Sustainable Tourism Lab to figure out how, together all three of those researchers provide me with input on how we can utilize a community trails census, a survey sent to all residents within CPRD to provide us with insights into the values that shape maybe their concerns of private property infringement, public safety, houselessness among trails, and also the benefits and motivations that they see. Is it getting from point A to B, whether it be like the Newburgh-Dundee bypass trail, or is it for, to escape life? I mean, thinking about COVID, a lot of people went outside to escape the stress and, the anxiety associated with everyday life. And I think we have a roughly 35 question, and that's more like 25 when you have dynamic logic involved. A 25 question survey that our committee is trying to work with CPRD to administer here in the next month or so, CPRD district wide. So every citizen in the CPRD district would receive a mailer, and we would do directed outreach and use that information about the values to guide our next conversations. And I think, for example, if we want to have discussions around the Ewing Young Park Bridge and that extra 11 acres, if we want to have discussions about the Newburgh-Dundee bypass trail, if we want to have discussions about Bob and Crystal Riley Park, we need to be able to get on everyone's level. You don't ask people from the community to come to our table. This is a great opportunity at public meetings like this to voice your opinion. But we need to take the next step forward and get to know people where they are and when they are. We need to visit private landowners and adjacent landowners to our properties to understand their concerns and do so in a way that we connect with them and understand their personal values before we even start talking about business. And the survey insights that we're hoping to gather will allow us to have stakeholder interviews, focus groups, and other more targeted approaches to better understanding the concerns that citizens have and the motivations that they have as well for the projects that they want to see us recommend to the board and eventually CPRD fulfill. So I just wanted to give that background as, you know, we are approaching with very close attention to detail in the way that we conduct this survey, making it extremely accessible to the community and showing a clear path before we even conduct the survey that data will be utilized in the best interest of every single citizen in the CPRD district. So that is coming. I'm hoping that we'll have some responses from Dawn. I know I've been bombarding the staff with emails, but you know, getting that out this summer, continuing our work to engage with the community and support through careful dialogue, critical thinking. The Newburgh-Dundee Bypass Trail, I'm hoping to see that through. Phase 1 is under construction now, and I think it's coming out of the bidding process, and then looking for matching funding from grants and other sources for Phase 2. And then the master plan process for Bob and Crystal Riley Park will be initiated here pretty soon. And we have very close eyes on those two projects to ensure that they do have a major component of community engagement. With that being said, we have no current proposals on the table for additional trails. We are very interested in taking these insights and focusing on community engagement here in the near term so that we can have those difficult conversations that produce these great projects when we have all the information and we have all of the players at the table. So I'm happy to take any questions, but that's the methodology that we're behind right now, and I'm extremely proud and thankful for our entire committee of volunteer citizens who you know aren't necessarily vocal about one ideology. You know, they question things from both perspectives, and you know, thinking critically so that everyone's voice is at least thought of. And I also every month I want to thank Kat and Casey, Brian, and Richard for all their support of the committee's work. So, but I'm happy to take any questions if you have any.
I have a couple.
Yeah.
Hey, Quinn. My name is Brian Reinhofer. I want to commend you for putting together a work party. That's great. I think all trail work is appreciated. I have been approached by numerous people, and I myself have tried to search where you intend to work on the park. So if you could give some parameters of what your focus is. I mean, obviously it's hundreds of acres. So are you going on the east side? Are you going on the west side? Do you have separate groups? If you could shed some light on that, that would be really, really good. And then I guess the second part of my question is, you know, you're talking about trail education. I'm wondering why the OET hasn't been called upon, because they've offered their 100+ years of combined trail work with multiple projects across the state, and it's kind of fallen on deaf ears. They're like, we're here, we can do it, we have all this, let us help. And then poof, it doesn't go anywhere because they weren't called upon. So just those two questions, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I definitely want to address, I was in a phone conversation with Russ, who does a lot of the trail work up there, and he is flagging locations.
Yeah. And he's been doing some major trails that Brian, I believe, said he wasn't, so I was a little bit confused on the disconnect there.
Yeah, so Russ has flagged the areas that need repair and attention, and we had an initial meeting to discuss. We are going to avoid some of the high grade areas on the west side and probably primarily focus on accessible areas within close proximity to the fields, and then also on the east side, a lot of those trails in the corner and up, along the the poison ivy. Or not poison ivy, the Himalayan blackberry up in the northeastern corner would be the focus of our work. Brian reached out to me, and I guess tagging along to your second question also, the equestrian group, we are more than happy to collaborate. I am more than happy to put folks in connection with Russ to figure out their specific areas that those groups would like to focus on if they see as a trail user community areas that need maintenance that maybe he hasn't seen, or maybe that there's overlap. It might be difficult to plan specifically for this event, but I think this won't be our last opportunity and our last effort to do a work party up there. And I apologize if there was some type of email or notification to me in a meeting that I missed. I'm sure that someone there can give you my contact information. I know that, Casey, Donna, everyone has my email. Please feel free to send me an email. I'd love to get in contact with the group. I apologize, I don't remember the acronym, but anyone that wants to be a partner, I'd be more than willing to connect with them personally.
Urban Equestrian Trails, and so just to reiterate, so I'm clear, you're gonna be working on the east side.
We will be working on the east side primarily, but accessible areas close proximity to the fields on the west side are also in play.
So around the horse trailer parking area?
Yeah, just avoiding that high grade, that would be the southwestern corner. I don't think we're going to be diving down into there, but the areas on the high ground.
Okay. Thank
Any other questions for Mr. Chairman? Tom?
Yeah, I made it. Quentin, Tom Hammer, in your questionnaire, you're going to be asking questions of people that don't know land use law. We've had a series of events in this county where even the legal counsel for the county was unaware or misapplied land use law. Boards of directors are unaware or not willing to look into land use laws. There was a questionnaire that CPRD put out on behalf of Friends of Yamhalis Trail recently, and it went to people that have no idea what land use law is. You've proposed a survey of thousands of people, and I wondered, do you yourself, do you think you're qualified on land use law? And is anybody gonna screen this survey so that people who are being asked to talk about trails understand land use law, which is the really kind of right at the front of the line? I'm really worried that this survey will be kind of a puff piece or a PR piece and not be based with proper knowledge. You might comment on your own knowledge of land use law. You're the fearless leader now, and you're doing a good job, I've observed. But it's still, this is a very critical thing. It can lead to very expensive non-solutions, and I think I've filibustered my full 3 minutes. I'll shut up.
No, I really do appreciate your question, Mr. Hammer. Is it? I want to clarify this survey, and I have seen the survey questions and results from, I believe, the survey you're referring to, the one relating specifically to the Yamhalis West Sider Trail that was conducted during the pandemic. This trail does not ask questions of that nature. It simply asks questions rooted within recreational management science around the motivations in which people use trails or would like to use trails, the concerns they have at a high level. So are people concerned about public safety, houselessness, homelessness folks, private property infringement? What benefits do they necessarily see in uses that they would like, whether it be bicycling, equestrian? Do they do it because they enjoy spending time with families, getting from A to B? And then also, we are asking questions around how would folks like to be involved. It does not ask any questions relating to land use or specific projects, and it is certainly not phrased in any way that would be coercive. I'd be happy to publish it, share it with folks that would like. Again, please feel free to ask Don or Casey for my email. I can share. We have a full methodology that has been screened by professional scientific social scientists here at Oregon State University Cascades. The question has gone through rigorous review for biases and survey errors that might come up. I won't call it flawless, but it is pretty dang close. And I'm confident the results of that survey will be made completely public and will only be used to further our conversations around how to move forward. They do not ask anything that might be misled to the public as far as folks support this, and it, to the lack of their knowledge, is not feasible because of land use laws or any other reason. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yeah. I would hope that you make that a comment rather than a question in the survey, though, that land use law must be respected so that the people taking the survey are alerted to the fact that is a primary concern. That's all. I got your email, so I'll ask for the survey, and I'll be your best friend on email for a while.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Is that a promise or a threat?
I'm done. Yeah, really done.
And I guess I'll just wrap up and say, you know, I want everyone and anyone to be involved with our committee's work and providing feedback. And, you know, personally email me. I would be happy to have a phone conversation. I've had the pleasure, honestly, of talking with Justin Fields, and I'm in contact with Matt as well, to figure out, you know, everyone needs to be involved. And I want the conversations to happen. And the only thing that I ask is that people come in with open minds and be polite. We can talk about the contentious issues, the divisive issues, but as long as we can all come with an open mind and be polite, I am beyond ecstatic to have conversations with anyone. So thank you so much.
What sort of input does the Chicago Bears quarterback have on the trails?
None.
Okay. You said Justin Fields.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies.
What's the guy's name again? Quentin, Steve Paulson, class of 2002, Oregon State.
Go Beavs.
Go Beavs. When are you officially done with school? Graduated?
I am graduating here June 18th.
And this is your bachelor's?
Correct, sir. In natural resources management.
Very impressive. You sound like a PhD, so congratulations.
Well, I'm surrounded by folks with PhDs, so maybe they're rubbing off on me.
And I just will say that I appreciate what you're doing, and I'm not just being biased because you're wearing orange and black. But Tom, please, well, you spoke about ideologies and these things like that, and people are obviously, you know, tense in our community. We've had a lot of things going on the last couple of years. But Tom, I will say that's probably the best point I've ever heard him make. And I've heard him make a lot of points. So it makes me low bar. It does make me think twice when I'm reading the results of a survey. It's just something. It's something. I mean, people's property is their property, and I understand that. So I just ask you take what he said seriously, because I certainly do.
Absolutely, and we have been very methodical in thinking about that. So I hope that the results of, you know, seeing the survey in action, taking it hopefully, and seeing the results being published will solidify my promise to you that we have been very careful to pay attention to that.
Hopefully we'll see at the new opening of the remodeled Research Stadium this fall. I'll show you a trailer too in Corvallis. Goes through the Peacock. Okay.
Thank you, Quentin, appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank you.
I thought there was one of the super.
Okay. Trails.
Super.
Golf course committee report. I guess, Steve, you're the only one left that.
Ron's here.
Still in the committee. Well, Ron wasn't at the last meeting.
Ron was at the last meeting, but he's here. Steve Paulson. We covered 3 items, main items at the golf course committee on Tuesday. The first item was the $5 surcharge. We had Kellen Saskin and Heidi Smith available. Thank you for being there. But before I do that, we got Howard. Thank you for being here, Howard. Scott, again, not only living there, but I walk the dogs all over this town, and to see the work that you're all doing out there, it really is appreciated. I think they're always generous and kind, and I always talk to them. Thank you. So thank you. It is a lot of work. You can see Clemens out there on the tractor here and there, so thank you for getting out there, Don. The $5 surcharge. So we wanted to know, there's a button, literally a button on the computer system that the employees, whoever's running the computer, manually has to punch to get the $5 surcharge that's going to go into the special account for every round of golf played starting July 1. That's when you're counting on humans, we're imperfect, we're far from perfect, and there's a chance, well, what happened, you know, someone brings their buddies in. Everyone knows you bring your friends and you come in after hours. I just want to make sure, we as a group want to make sure that we're installing this for a purpose. We just want to make sure that it's getting done and that the training is done correctly, and that people that come from outside the community that want to play golf here, that if the employees are questioned, that they can answer confidently. When you get some knucklehead, for lack of a better term, that comes in there and wants to be rude, they're like, you know, $5, this is already the best value of any golf course in the state when it's in good condition. And I've been all over the state playing golf. It's just a fact. So the fact that it's going to $60, is that right, Kellen? That's still, give or take.
Plenty of different rates, but yes.
The peak rate at the peak hours is $60. After hours is different. That's still a value. So there's not a doubt in my mind that people that drive their Rivians and their Lexuses and all their fancy Teslas don't have a problem with $5 as much as the person that's walking with their clubs on their back probably doesn't have an issue with it. So we just want to make sure that that's active and it's going to go to the right place, and that we're going to get a monthly report of how much money is coming in. Because with all the talk about changing over boards and budgets getting turned and everyone knows the drill, we want to make sure that this money is going to what it's supposed to go to. Because that's going to add up quick, and it's going to add up quick in the summer. Second item that we talked about, and I don't need to rehash the whole thing, but we did talk about the $300,000 bathroom on the budget. And I have the agenda from January 24th from our committee meeting. Again, we obviously don't make the decisions, the board does. We just advise and make recommendations. But we as a committee talked, and I put it on the notes. I was taking notes that night. I was the one that was responsible. That we put a motion, we wanted to have the bathrooms put off, not as a priority. Certainly not to the tune of $300,000. And so when I see the spots that are crispy, there's some crispy, dead spots on that course, and it's due to a lack of irrigation. Some of it may be due to disease, but I asked, and primarily it's lack of water because the sprinkler systems weren't working. So the clubhouse sounds great, the charge sounds great, but if the course isn't playable, what are we doing? So the sprinklers, that should be updated. It really should, and the $300,000 should not be there. And one of our, lastly, the last thing we did, we talked, again, y'all probably know this by now. I'm on a mission to make sure the employees of CPRD that are serving food and beverage get compensated appropriately via a tip. I talked to our attorney today. I was told by Heidi multiple times it's illegal to accept tips because you consider your employees a public servant or a public employee. We got a hold of the Oregon Bureau of Labor, as well as our attorney that I talked to today, and this was his feedback to us. Quote, I see no statutes or rules against tips of government employed service industry. Processing a credit card tip with no other purchase looks fine too. So that's from an attorney in Hillsborough, as well as the Bureau of Labor that we're in talks with right now. It's a matter of accounting, taxing, and running reports at the end. But if it means that our employees can get compensated, a lot of these are which are summer kids home from summer school. I talked to one, she said, Steve, we had 20 people ask me 2 days ago, could we leave a credit card tip? 20 separate golfers, as she's driving around the golf course trying to make a living while she's out of school. The least we can do is honor that and find a way to fix it. But I did find out the letter of the law, and my attorney's prepared to address that. So that's that. Lastly, we did have member Art Gregory resigned that day from the board. From the advisory committee, excuse me. Going forward with the new board, going into effect July 1 with Mr. Loving retiring, we'll need a new board chair, potentially, so that is to be determined, as well as I've suggested, I've nominated a new committee member, Dan Kim. It was seconded, and then we're gonna see where it goes from there. That's all I got.
I have a question. How many people are left on your committee?
6.
6?
And we need one. I've nominated one more. So it's for 7. We have one open seat.
I do need to receive some written communication from you regarding resignation. It can be a 1-sentence email, but I do need something right. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Steve.
Well, one other question, and maybe Heidi, you can answer this, because I'm a little bit familiar with credit cards. So if we give somebody a tip on a credit card, there's a credit card charge from the credit card company. Who pays that? Like 2%. Who pays that? Who would pay that?
The district would end up paying it, so therefore, every taxpayer on your tax assessment, you're paying the fee.
I didn't know, because I know that's why a lot of people don't have credit cards, because they have to pay a fee.
So yeah, because we can't deduct that from the employee's tip in Oregon.
Okay.
So, and we're SDAO is still in deep research on this.
All right.
So yeah, forward your attorney. I hope you're right. I hope your attorney's right.
Yeah, I don't know,
I've said that.
Again, the tax and all that aside, I don't think anyone knows exactly, but the attorneys do. And I don't know who would argue with the fact that we want to get the people paid, no matter what side of the fence you're on any issue. I just want them to be able to, Jim, and you're right, you can go to the nail salon and you can't leave a tip at the one by Safeway. However, it's their choice to do it, whether they're a public employee or not. But any golf course you go to any restaurant in town. Burgerville, guilty as charged. I was working in the Dalles. I did go to the best Burgerville in the state. They asked, but when you cash out, would you like a tip? Press 1 to not leave a tip. That's at a fast food. It was good.
I refused Burgerville because of that specific reason.
I'm sorry.
They have gotten a little.
I'm sure they're not public employees at Burgerville, so there's no question about that. Panel launch update.
I don't have anything on that.
Why is it on here?
There was, I was contacted by the president of the chamber. There's a development, land, is going on, along the river. And he talked about, working with us down by the river to, in order to have a paddle launch. So, I'll just report back. That's all that I have at this time.
Okay, good.
Don, that's, I'm sorry,
Go ahead, Mark.
Don, that's the upstream from Sahill Creek complex by the Columbia Empire.
It's the old, where the, trying to think of the company. It's right by the.
Columbia Empire Farms?
Right, it's in between where the county.
Baker Creek?
owns
Baker?
Creek.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Oh, Baker
it's
wants to do
their
that.
property. Yes.
Okay.
Interesting.
Well,
So
they're
right next to
selling
the-
it, and,
Right next to Rogers Landing.
right, so,
Really?
yeah, there's going to be a development there, but it's still early, there's a lot of discussions, I'll report back.
Hey, Don, I'm curious if, while you're having those discussions, if there could be access from Water Street, as we may not get access through Rogers Landing as it's controlled by the county.
We'll contact the county and try to do that.
Okay, if there's nothing else on panel launch, we will jump up to the superintendent's report. So Don, you start with the board.
For the board's information, Jim called me, but prior to Jim calling me, I got a call. I had reached out to the college about the possibility of doing tennis courts over by their facilities. Edwards and I talked many years ago. We went with the college and we did the existing tennis courts that was closed down. We contributed. The one thing they did was they signed an agreement that they would keep those courts open for the public. Otherwise, they had to pay us back the money. But they did that over many, many years. I guess you're talking about 30-something years. They honored that, and we more than got our money's worth. We are talking with them about not only tennis courts, but also about the pickleball courts. And we will be talking with them within the next month, and we may move the pickleball courts from Rennie to there, depending on what happens in the discussion.
So where is there?
Do you know where the tennis facility, that big, Villa Road?
Yeah, so we're talking about that corner we talked about
Right,
10 years ago,
there you
or
go.
whenever.
There you go. It's still very preliminary, but it has good possibilities. It's out of the way of everything.
Are they
So-
talking about like selling property to the district? I mean, what's the?
I don't think they would sell property. Probably what we'll do is enter into an agreement like we did before, where they will give us the right to utilize that, and they'll basically own the property, which is perfectly fine. We can do that. John's here. He knows the details, but we did that with back when Alan was our attorney, and we worked an agreement out, and it was signed by the college as well as myself. So we'll be bringing that back to you.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Have a good trip. Staff reports. Let's see, start with, back row, Brian.
Parks. Well, I put a little note in the board package, of course, but once, I don't know what one of the top 5 rainiest Aprils in the history of Oregon, which says a lot, but once that end of April hit, people wanted on those fields, and they wanted on them now, and everything opened up, and people had enough of the rain, and sure as heck, that switch went off, we went right to summer. But, so we are busy, busy, busy. The field's literally 7 days a week. The facilities are busy, either with groups or clubs or just average individuals, citizens enjoying the facilities. So we've been very busy in the parks. We helped out tremendously getting ready for the pickleball tournament here in town. There's been a lot of service groups that have stepped up. I've had the pleasure of working with 2 of them just last weekend, at one in Jacowitz and one at Memorial Park. And so that was in with Jim's group down at Giving Young. Golf course is, we dedicate a lot of labor out there helping with that. Ball fields, quite a bit of work out there on all the ball fields. All the facilities themselves, staff is very busy keeping that running. The aquatic center, of course, is, and there's the cultural center. Splash pad turned on, super hot spot here in town. And yeah, it's rock and roll time. It happens every year. And every year we get ready for it, and here we go.
That's great, you have all the signage up. Thank you.
Yeah, looks great.
On the Riley property.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
that.
Yep, there's a lot of work there. We put some, a lot of time into that. I think that opening went smooth. Yeah, happy to hear that. The signage is working, and more and more people are using it. Tends to be the state's largest dog park right now, with the amount of people out there walking their dogs or whatever. But we definitely have bikers and equestrian people also.
Any other questions for Brian?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks to Brian and Casey. My wife's a 3rd grade teacher. They had a field trip today to Memorial Park, and then they walked up and walked the trail around Ewing Young Park, and she commented just on the really great condition of both the park and the trail, so I appreciate that.
Heidi hi, Heidi ho.
Everyone's just keeping me busy. We're, all the staff, the college and high school kids are almost done with their transitions, but I'm seeing the highest numbers of staffing levels, and it's been a nice, even sustainable number. So it's been great, and we're getting so many returners. So that's been a huge positive. So we're still getting people from out of town. They're driving to Newburgh to work here, to work for us.
Alan, it's good to see you, considering the golf course is losing money every month and about to go under.
It's pretty darn busy out there. So, echo Brian, when the weather flipped, we've been packed out there, so it's been great. Tournament season kind of kicks off for us here now. We've got a tournament this Saturday and one next weekend, and then we just really get rolling from there. So, yeah, busy with tournaments, trying to get staff in place to provide good customer service, and got our junior camps, 3 junior camps coming up this summer, so just excited to get going.
Questions for
Hey,
Kellen?
Kellen, when that comment came up about losing money, I know that, you know, as an employee, that hurts sometimes if it's true or not true. I don't know if you can give me a heads up on where we're at there?
Yeah, COVID, as we all know, brought a huge spike to the golf industry, and we went up 30 to 35% in rounds in revenue. We're not seeing a large dip at this point. That's not the case at all. We are on track to have more revenue this year than we did last year. And we had a really wet spring last year. The prior year, the first COVID year, that's when we had a really good spring. Just the whole year weather-wise was really good, and that was our highest output. Last year was down a little bit. This year, again, tracking closer to 2 years ago, higher than last year. I think the national golf industry says we're down like 2% year over year. So there might be a small trend down, but overall it's not dropping back off to pre-COVID numbers by any means. So.
Okay, but the statement that I want to make also is that, you know, the people in our park district, there's like 35,000 of them. And they enjoy a lot of these amenities. They don't go to each one, but they enjoy a lot of them. People come out from outside to use our amenities. And we do have losses from time to time in some of our things. The pool is a giant white elephant. I mean, it's just hard to make money in a swimming pool. But people wanted that recreational opportunity for the public and make this area a little more livable than not. And a lot of people also don't consider, and I consider, the amount of money that comes into our community due to these recreational programs, due to trails, due to the pool, due to the ball fields, due to everything else that we do, our recreational program. So you gotta see, I mean, there's a bigger picture than just, hey, we're losing money. If we're losing money on something, we wanna try to fix that, I get it. But that happens, but the public still is putting money back into the entire community, and the people that are coming into our community are putting money into our community. So it's a big picture that people need to look at. A lot of times that we're losing money, we don't want that to happen for sure, but there are some benefits there too, and we want to pick it up. So I just thought I'd make that statement.
Thank you.
Scott?
Well, as you know, the golf course is open, people are coming out, like Kellen said, and we're continuing on the promise of trying to make this the best course in the area.
So I would like to just follow up on a couple of the comments that were made. I mean, is there some serious issue with the sprinkler system, or is it just, you know?
We've been having some problems with the satellite controllers, yes.
Okay. I assume those are being dealt with?
Yeah.
2 of them has already been redone. There's quite a few out there. It's 18 years. It's time for them to go. We'll be repairing them as they go. He was out last week, Casey, wasn't he, in repair?
Yeah, we've
2?
repaired 3 so far. and
Yeah,
we've
I
got
didn't
another
know the
one
number.
That's going,
Which
so.
we always do when they break.
There's 29 of them out there. They don't talk to a central sometimes, and if you're not paying attention, you don't see it for a bit. So.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions for Scott? Richard?
Yes. Yeah, so servers are spinning and, you know, coming along, and yeah, they're all happy.
Good report. Matt, we don't see you very often. Got anything to say for yourself?
Thanks for having me. I've enjoyed my time with you. We are wrapping up school year activities. We're looking forward to a very fun and busy summer. In the recreation department, between recreation and community school, we have 106 different camps, classes, or one-day activities for youth and families in town. That's pretty close to the number we were able to deliver last year. Yeah, summer's going to be busy.
I read in your report that bingo's coming back to the senior center.
Yeah, we just got our bingo license approved, 3, maybe 4 weeks ago.
So with that said, you're gonna have to deal with my mother-in-law again.
I remember.
Do you have to be a senior to play bingo?
Nope, you just have to be
My
willing to
daughter
give
loves
some
to play
money.
bingo, but she's only 31.
That'll count, that's fine, we don't ID.
All right. Do we have any other staff members online, Richard?
No.
Okay. Legal department, Mr. Bridges, we don't see you very often. Assuming you're not gonna charge us by the word, do you have anything that you wanted to say since you're here?
Well, I think I was asked to be here just because there were some comments at the last board meeting that I wanted to clarify. So you as a board, ORS 244.050 just are the different governmental agencies, elected officials that are required to do financial reporting. The special district, like your park, which was formed under 266, is not one of the enumerated lists of governmental agencies. And I would tell you, it's pretty dang exhaustive. It's like 5 or 6 pages long. I think there was also some errors. Everything is definitional in these laws, right? And the definition in the law may not be what you think of a common definition. And this is a classic area. So there is an exclusion from the term gift for programs that the district has had for years. And that program allows employees to use like the pool facility without charge. And it's okay to have that extend to the elected officials as long as they're not the only ones getting that benefit. And both your pool district or your pool and your golf course do allow free rounds of golf, both to board members but also to employees. And because the employees are getting that same benefit, it doesn't qualify as a gift as defined by the statute. So even if you were a reporting body, you wouldn't have to report that because it's not a reportable thing. The third reason that comments were in error is if someone were to have given you a gift and it qualified as a gift, and because it was only given to you or a family member, and the purpose behind the gift matters, okay? If the wrongful purpose would be if you were trying to, if you knew you were gonna have an issue come before the body, and you knew that that person was gonna make a vote on something that was gonna affect your interests. So you have to have like a legislative purpose behind the gift for it to qualify as a gift and for it to be reportable. So I just wanted the board to know that there's 3 different ways that this allegation don't qualify as being something bad or something wrong or something like that, okay? And I would say that that's been the district's policy for, I think, 20+ years. It's something that was created in conjunction with the special district organization, and so it's been super vetted. It's not a question. It's not a close question. It's just not a thing. So happy to answer questions about that.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, I purposely didn't say anything last month. I didn't feel it was appropriate. I've had several conversations now with the state ethics committee investigator. She and I had one today, in fact, because I wanted some clarification, because it is a fact that the park districts that are larger than us Bend Metro, Alton Hills, Willamette Lane, they all have the exact same policy. They, board members and staff are allowed complimentary access to any and every facility that they have. If you're on the TriMet Board of Directors, or if you're on the Lane Transit District Board of Directors, you get a free universal bus pass, which can be worth thousands of dollars over the course of your term. And so, this allegation has been raised against me, which is frustrating in that the board doesn't even meet until July 14th. So it's just kind of this cloud hanging over me until, that's frustrating. So we'll get dismissed then. But at any rate, so I asked her, I said, well, so how, all these other boards have these things. I mean, if you can't vote something, benefits you, how do these other boards get there? And so she explained, to me that, boards can vote things, but only prospectively. So, like what would be, fantastic news for Matt and Jason, this board has the authority tonight. We could vote a $5,000 monthly stipend for the board of directors. And the only 5 people that could never get that ever would be the 5 of us. It could only impact future board members. So, considering that.
We're not gonna do that.
Yeah, I don't wanna get you guys excited, it's not gonna happen, right? That was just an example. So, assuming in this, we're looking for the records, some point, we have all sorts of anecdotal information. At some point in time, there was a vote by a past board of directors, pre-me, pre-Don Clements, pre-Alan Brown. I didn't even know we had an attorney before Alan Brown with this park district.
Nelson.
But there was a vote by an old board of directors to do this thing with the pool, and then it was just continued when the golf course was created. So it's not an issue. I'm frustrated that it won't be resolved until the middle of July. Because it was not fun to be raked over the coals like that last month. So I am a man of integrity. Anyway.
Don?
Mr. Gregory.
Yes. Yeah, I'm Mark Gregory, and I've been mentioned before in this meeting. But I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the board as it currently exists. And I know that 2 of you are going to be off the board from July the 1st. And I wanted to acknowledge Bart for his participation with CPRD, things you've had to work on, the accomplishments that you've made. And Don, recognizing that now you're a lame duck until July 1.
Heavy on the duck.
Yeah, I want you to be assured that once we get to July 1, you won't be lame anymore, but you'll still be a duck.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you stole my.
I know.
Anyway, I do want to acknowledge the services that you all have given, and specifically acknowledge Bart and Don for the service they've done, the accomplishments they've made, and it will carry forward. So even though they may not be on the board, their efforts will be up among us all the time. And I want to welcome the new guys that are living on the board. And I want you to recognize what has been done in the past. And I know you'll recognize the things as we go into the future. But I also ask that you keep an independent mind as you assess the things that may come up on the board, and to use your own best judgment as to what is the right thing to do going forward. Don't be swayed by other opinions. Use your own knowledge and your own voices. So good luck to you both.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I wear my class ring, U of O 1980, so I'm a duck. Okay, is there anyone who wishes to speak on the budget before I close the public hearing on the budget? Mr. Gregory.
Thank you.
I ahead, John.
Again, it was brought up here in the meeting about a $300 charge for a permanent restroom on the golf course.
If it was only $300, there wouldn't be an issue.
Let me repeat that, $300,000. Well, at this point, it's not really known if it would cost $300,000, it could be a lot less. But the point that I want to make is that right now, with the board's input and the advisory committee, that the primary objectives that they're looking at has to do with the third nine and the clubhouse, which would be quite a benefit to the community and to the golfing. If you took a look, if you thought about it, you know, to have a new clubhouse, a third nine, and a porta potty out on the golf course, somehow that just doesn't seem to register well. And a lot of people don't want to use a porta potty. A lot of females don't want to use a porta potty. And quite honestly, these summers, they stink like a porta potty. So I'm actually advocating for this money to remain on the budget. I think that that it will be an asset to the current golf course and the clubhouse, even before we get the new clubhouse, the new nine. To the way it's standing right now, the location that the administration is looking at is at the 6th green. And when the greens were put in, there was actually plumbed. It's plumbed at that location. We have water at that location. We also have electricity at that location. So it's a natural to go ahead and put in a permanent restroom there. And it will also set the stage, and we'll have the criteria and the styling that we could use if you all chose to do that, to put another permanent restroom on the current back nine and another permanent restroom on a new nine that will go in the future. So I think it sets a standard, and it would certainly complement what you all are trying to accomplish now with the new clubhouse and the third nine. So I respectfully ask that item remain as a line item on the budget under the golf course. So thank you.
It's ironic that all of the golf course advisory committee members are left, all live at the greens, and it was people from the greens that have howled for years about wanting a permanent restroom because they don't like the porta potty in their neighborhood.
Question.
Yes.
It was mentioned, and so, put me back to date on this, is it just a restroom or is it restrooms and a concession stand?
Restrooms only.
Because he mentioned
Yeah, I never
concession
understood.
stand, and I go, I don't remember seeing
If
that.
you count a water fountain, it'll be a water fountain.
But, you know,
It's not a concession. You don't
restrooms are cheap, I get it, and I understand the need.
Just for the board's
Not 300,000.
information,
That's
No.
just starting.
when you,
That's too much.
when you put restrooms together, you can save anywhere from $7,000 to $18,000, what we were told. Art was part of the group, if you do more than one. As the board is aware, we're probably not gonna be able to get that bridge in, especially with the county and where it's at. John is gone. I wish he was here, but we are looking at entering into a memorandum of understanding with the county on that, rather than go through the courts and appeal, to try to work that out with LCDC on a mediation type situation by which to get that accomplished. Should we fail, it would be much cheaper for the taxpayers to try to work that out. If the county decided, no, they won't do it, and they don't work it out, then we could go with the court system. LCDC, after doing that, would probably be on our side. So we're going to approach it with the MOU. As this board knows, Don, some of you may not know, but even the governor said that we'd never build that golf course. We built that golf course, and we did it through the land use laws because they said we couldn't do it. And we did do it. And we used very strategic situations, and we wound up in mediation. And mediation is the way to go. So for the board's information, that's the approach that we're taking with that bridge issue. If the county chooses not to do it, which they have their rights, it could cost the taxpayers a lot of money after that fact. But I would agree that every effort should be made not to cost the taxpayers huge amount of money. So that's the effort we're going to take.
Mr. Fields.
I would say, shut the checkbook up, because we shouldn't spend another dime on it, because I'm telling you, Don, the moment that we take and get elected and sworn in, that bridge idea is dead, okay? I want to be clear about that. That bridge idea is dead. We're not going to litigate this anymore, okay? I want to be clear. So I believe that we should not waste another dime on it. I'm not in charge right now, but I'm telling you for sure, we are going to kill the bridge idea. We're not going to waste.
You're talking about a
time.
union?
Yes.
If the board decides and says that, then we will honor that. But until then, we will continue to work on that.
Just
and
remember your
work
position,
with
and you're not listening to what I said,
I
okay?
know,
I
excuse
just
me,
want to be
Jason,
clear.
you're not there yet. and
Yeah.
He has to do his job.
I understand, thank you.
So, it's not that he's trying to tell you he doesn't wanna do what you wanna have done, but there's a different board sitting here. So you sitting there telling him to do something seems kind of inappropriate.
I can appreciate your point. I just want you to know, it is going to change in 30 or 45 days.
I think that's why Don is going the direction he's going.
And it doesn't make sense if you know that the board that comes in here is going to reverse this.
Then
It will happen, for
Then
sure.
That's the reason for going with the MOU rather than the legal course. I understand what you said, and we could be costing the taxpayers a lot of money. I would agree with that. I don't think we should.
So does that mean that it's dead, or what are you, I don't understand what you're saying.
I would never recommend, the board can do what they want, and we will honor that. But there's no way I would recommend not accessing that 11 acres. It's crucial. The gentleman that spoke about that, it has recreational value. And we should be able to use that recreational value. I will point that out. If the board says no, we're not going to do it, then we're not going to do it. But I would not feel right not expressing what the community and other people have said. And so when the time comes and it's dead, it's dead.
And I'm hoping that when you guys come onto the board, that you're going to be open to having full conversations. I don't think we try not to be open with everybody. We do have a liability issue with that property and absolutely no access to it, right? We don't, if something happens there, we're liable and we can't get there. So, I mean, it's not, there's a lot of different reasons. A, responsibly, we should be able to take care of the property that we have. You can't get anything over there to do any maintenance or anything there. It's landlocked, so you can't get there any other way, and it's an asset that the park has. It doesn't go anywhere else. It goes around, it has to come back into the existing park. It's not any kind of a corridor for anywhere else. It's by not doing it, we really are being irresponsible because we have an obligation to take care of the assets that the district has. And that's the primary reason for getting over there.
Would you be opposed if the property came into the city?
I don't know yet. I'd have to study it some more.
Okay, that's another avenue that we are discussing. I'm talking with the city on that. I wanna get as many avenues as possible. I realize politically, there are people that want that project dead. I understand that from a political standpoint. I'm not into politics. I'm a professional. And professional is totally different than political. But if the board says no, then we will honor that. If the majority of the board votes no, we'll honor it. And I'll keep trying or giving you advice on which way to go. I would say, this is an opinion based on what I know in the community. There's more people wanting to see that property open than wants to see it not open. Many more. I can assure you of that. And the survey will reflect that. And I'll be glad to do that because we've had a master plan for that park that was done probably 10 years ago.
I would tell you, Don, that I sat in a meeting in Yamhill County, and it was 5-1 of people who say, no, we don't want this. So, you may be right, and I'm definitely willing to listen. Okay?
I was there at that meeting.
Yeah.
If you remember, I was there. Again, I could have got 20 people there that wanted it, but that's not my job. I'm not into politics. I'm not going to play that game.
Sure.
That's not my job. That's not the way we're supposed to run the district. So when the board says, then we'll do it.
Thanks, Don.
So, and Jason, I totally respect that you guys, you and Matt may have totally different ideas than we do, but I hope that before you take office that you'll visit the park and walk the trail and make some opinions based on, you know, what you see. And I know you've heard testimony that it's not possible to build a trail on the other side, but you know, one side of the creek is like the other. And when we first started using that trail, it was dangerous. I've slipped and fell, but we've got a master trail builder that is, I mean, you're in the city, but it's yeah, it's nice. And it's, to me, you know, you heard about the disc golf here too. We've got 18 holes. It'd be great to have another 9, and you know, walk the trail and think about, you know, what it might be like to double the size of that trail.
Well, I would like to say thank you guys for letting me speak here. And I apologize if I stepped out of turn on any of this. And I want to thank you for your service. 34 years, is it? 32, 34?
34 counting the 2 years I
That's
was
a
on the
lot.
budget committee for the board.
And I know that this board has done some amazing things. And I hope that we can continue doing amazing things. Okay?
So we are straying a bit here, although I appreciate the discussion. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on the budget before I close the public hearing on the budget? Seeing none. Oh, Mr. Robinson. Not Mrs. Robinson, but Mr. Robinson.
I'm Fred Robinson.
Yes, you are.
I've lived in the district for around 40 years. Lived in a lot of other areas around the state and seen a lot of other districts, organizations work. And the Chehalis Parks and Recreation District is the best run, most efficient, most community-oriented organization that I have ever seen. And I compliment everybody, the staff, the board, the current board, for the work you've done. The Chehalis Parks and Rec District is a wonderful organization. I'm happy to be a part of it, and I hope the next generation can carry on the work, not destroy the work that this board and this district has done. And I personally thank every one of you for all your effort. Some of you are paid, most of the key people are volunteered, and I'm deeply appreciative of all the work you've done. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Fred.
you.
Full disclosure, Mr. Robinson was one of my Little League coaches when I was 9 and 10.
He told me about your skills.
There were no
You were
radar,
all right.
no radar guns back then, or I would have, I would have been on the path to professional, I'm sure. So, all right, I'm closing the public hearing on the budget. Moving us on to correspondence. Any board members have any comments about the citizen comments, evaluations, complaints, anecdotes, et
Yeah, I'd
cetera?
like to say,
Yes, Mr. Rush.
I'm glad I only need to read those crazy comments from the unidentified person one more meeting worth.
You guys will be blessed with that.
We're thrilled. Anything else? All right, just note for the record that typically we meet on the fourth Thursday of the month because the fourth Thursday comes up very early in June because June 1st is Thursday. The June meeting has been bumped a week and we will not meet until June 29th. With that, I would accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Does not need a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.